Now we're finishing the speech that the Rebbe that we began. This is a speech found in volume 11 of the speeches of the Lubavitcher Rebbe, volume 11. And if you remember, we're talking about what it says in this week's Torah portion. What it says in this week's Torah portion that Moses he stood up the tabernacle on the first day of Nisan. Moses stood up the tabernacle, but it doesn't exactly say that. It says that this tabernacle was stood up. The tabernacle, it was erected. And explains what does it mean it was erected? That Moses, even though that 7 days he set up the tabernacle and he took it down, that was the days of inauguration. But on the 7th day, he couldn't do it on his own. He couldn't do it on his own. And God helped him. God helped him to do it. And that's what it means. It was stood up. So to speak, it happened automatically. It was stood up. So the Rebbe asked the question, why doesn't make any sense. I mean, 7 days he was able to do it on his own. Why is it on this last day he wasn't able to? The God had to help him. Why? So it says because it's something that's going to be permanent, eternal, as it has to be done by God. Can't be done by man alone. Something like we just finished learning, right? That the future redemption has to come by God and by us. But it has to be in the month of Nisan that God is going to do, so to speak, it all. He's going to do the whole thing, but we have to do it. It's and the 7 days that were beforehand, that was the preparation. And that had to be the preparation. According to the Ramban, it was a commandment that God told Moses, he commanded him to do it. According to Rashi, Moses just understood it on his own. Okay, so the Rebbe wants to say that this is a hint already at the third temple. The third temple. The first, second temple, and before that, this tabernacle, were sort of impermanent. They weren't permanent. They were destroyed. They were gone. But the third temple is going to be made purely by God. Purely by God. Mikdash Hashem konen yadecha. And therefore it'll be permanent. Third temple. Says just 1 minute, says the Rebbe. But if you look at Maimonides, who he's like the big, final opinion when it comes to Moshiach, so he says that the Moshiach is going to build a third temple. Moshiach is going to build it. So how does that fit in? So he says because, in fact, the third temple will be built by God. It'll be built by God. But all the preparations have to be done by us. So according to Rashi, he says that everything is going to be done by God. And according to Rambam Maimonides, he says everything's going to be done by us. By Moshiach, he's going to inspire the people. We're going to build it. So which one is it going to be? So the Rebbe says both. That we have to do, says that's okay. So the reason for this, let's go from here. The reason this, according to the opinion of the Rambam of Maimonides, Sha'af, even though She'yitron, let's make this bigger here. We can make it bigger. That even though that this whole advantage of the greatness of the Harshrat HaShekhinah, of the Shekhinah being revealed from above, it's incomparable to any work that we can possibly do. So if so, why does Maimonides insist that the Mashiach is going to do it, that we're going to build the temple? If so, it's not going to be permanent. It'll be, nevertheless, Yesh B'Zem Maila, there's a good thing when we do the work. Why? because it says that a person would rather have 1 unit, 1/10 of wealth from his own work than 10 times that much given as a gift. That's what it says in the Gemara. A person would rather have 1 unit of his own than 10 that was given as a gift. So you can say, that's simply not so. That's human nature is not so. Any human being, if you give a person, say, would you rather work and earn $1,000, right? Would you rather work $1,000 or have a gift $10,000? Which would you rather have, right? Take your time, think about it. Nobody's going to think about it. So what do you mean, work and get $1,000 or get a free gift to 10,000? I want 10,000. Says, yeah, the fact is, yes, of course, people initially will want that, but they won't appreciate it as much. When a person has $1,000 that he worked for, he appreciates it 100 times more than $10,000 that he got as a free gift. A free gift, you start, easy come, easy go. Person has $1,000, he appreciates it. Says that's the whole idea. Maimonides says that the Moshiach will do it because we'll be doing the work on our own. And a person rather wants to have 1 unit of himself, but it's his own. We'll do the work. And when the commandment of God comes to make the Mishkan, the intention was that man should do it. We should make it, which is not the case when God made his Shekhinah come down. Therefore, in the future, says the Rambam, Moshiach, he's going to be the one that's going to build it. And the previous Rebbe added on that who's going to build the temple? We're going to build it. We've been working on it for 2,000 years already in exile. We've been suffering and crying and praying and being tortured and dying. That's the working for the build of the temple. I think that's enough work. That we're doing it. But moving, it's understood that according to the Midrash and Rashi, that God's going to do everything. There is certainly a big advantage to there's certainly an advantage, a good thing about man working from below. And therefore it has to be, like we said, that each and every Jew had to bring, in the tabernacle, they had to bring the donations and the service of the Chachmei Lev, and that's what they call the talented Jews, the ones that were artisans. They had to make the Mishkan. But all of this is just a preparation. The real standing up of the Mishkan, that was like the 7 days of the tabernacle, that Moses could do it on his own. But the actual standing up permanently, a human being can't do. Moses couldn't do it. Moshiach can't do it. Therefore, it was brought the Mishkan. They had to bring the Mishkan to Moses. And al derech zeh haya inyan hakamaso shel yemot Mashiach. It will be a preparation by us in order that afterwards there'll be a revelation of godliness in the world from God himself, like we said before. Okay, so the future, the third temple, who's going to build it? So the answer is God's going to build it. But Maimonides says that we're going to build it. Moshiach is going to build it. He says we're going to make the preparations. We're going to do everything to prepare. We're going to do tshuva. We're going to turn from bad. We're going to do good. That's our part. The Rebbe brings up in a Sichot that will bring up, it says that the doors of the tabernacle, of the second temple, that they sunk into the ground. And that the Mashiach will bring them up. That's what he'll do. But the rest is going to be a miracle. It's going to come from heaven. Okay, so what do we have to learn from this? First of all, Reshit Kol Tzorich, there has to be, every Jew has to do Torah and the commandments on their own. But Allah, every Jew must know, this is only a preparation. But Allah, and each Jew has to bring all of the work and all the service to Moshe. You can do what you want, but the main thing is Moshe. He's going to be he's going to put the final touch on all of the work that all the Jews did. And in every generation, there is a branch, there is a representative of Moses in every generation. Those are the wise men of the generation. Einei Aida, the eyes, because Moshe Shebador had the Moses of the generation. The rabbis, they have the power to stand up in the soul of every single Jew from above. So Moshe's job, Moshiach's job, will be to bring godliness down. But the Jewish people, they have to do the work themselves in the beginning. There has to be a vessel. The Jewish people make the vessel. And Moshiach is the one that brings the godliness down in the world. In the case of the third temple, the godliness is going to be the walls of the temple itself. On the other hand, Kasher, Metziim, Shalichos, when you are offered an opportunity, Linasoa, to go out and to spread out Judaism and Chassidut as outward in a faraway place, that by means of this, we stand up the Mishkan and every single Jew, by means of this, you build a holy temple in every single Jew that you come in contact with. It's possible that a person might think, a person could think, listen, I'm going to go spread out Judaism. I'm having trouble with my own Judaism. I'm going to go and tell people putting on tefillin. I have trouble with my own. I put on tefillin, but I'm going to inspire others. I can't do it. Says the Rebbe, you should understand that this is a part of Am Chacham Banavon. Lochen tzorich liot hanhagato ba'ofen kazeh. Therefore, you are a Jew. Jews are called wise people. They're called smart people. They're Am Chacham Banavon. Where does it say this in? I'm sorry, again, I skipped something. You might think that this is not relevant to me, saying I am just a part of an intelligent people. The Jews they're smarter than me. I haven't got such talents. Look, and therefore you have to understand that Hainu Lidbonen, you have to think in everything, and you have to, it has to be in my insight. I have to prepare myself properly. And I thought about it. Indian spreading out Judaism this is by me. It's not going to work. It doesn't really go into me. I can't really inspire anyone when I'm not inspired myself. It's not understood in my mind, but often panimi. And therefore, first of all, Yageh Asmo, he makes an effort in learning Torah and in the learning Chassidut and etc. Then after a while, then I can go out and spread out Judaism. Then I can accept on myself to be an emissary of the Rebbe to go out and spread Judaism out, right? Got to make a lot of preparations. Says the Rebbe, on this comes the teaching from Binyan the Mishkan. Right? What's the Binyan Mishkan? Avoda Samata, that we, what you do in the world is a way of hukam. You're not doing it alone. Is by means of shemevi zel Moshe, because you're connected to Moshe of your generation. And if you weren't connected to Moshe, even though you work no matter how hard, but bedugmas of Mishkan, b'kamaso, like it was in the days of the Moshiach, like we said before, it's not going to work. What's the Rebbe saying? Let's look at what happened with the tabernacle. The Jewish people brought everything, and even Moses stood up the Mishkan. But on the last day, Moses did it alone, and he did it with Hashem. So the Jewish people, they brought all these offerings, and they brought all the donations, and they brought the contributions, the materials needed to build the Mishkan. The Jewish people did it. But who was the one who finally actually stood up the Mishkan alone? It was Moses with God's help. And in every generation, there has to be a special, unique Jew, which is incomparable to all the other Jews, even the smartest Jews, even the most gifted Jews, the most religious Jews, the holiest Jews, the Jews that can give blessings and that they can tell the future. There has to be one Jew that is totally incomparable to all of them, and he's the one that finally stands up the Mishkan for everybody. and everyone does their work, whatever they do. But and a person could say to himself, "Listen, who am I? I can't do anything." He says, "You're not doing anything. You're just bringing whatever you do to Moshe. Moshe will do everything." Moshe is the one that finally stands up to Mishkan. Dav Kal Yadei, by means of giving and everything you have and all of your accomplishments to the leaders of the generation, namely the Moses, which is in every generation. And in our case, it's talking about spreading out Judaism in the way that the Rebbe wants us to. By means of this will be built your personal tabernacle on your own, and you will build it also on others. Torah and Tefillah and the Shekhinah will be resting in your hands. In other words, go out of yourself, give to others, and you'll see, because you're doing with the power of Moshe, so the whole generation will change. By means of spreading out, your well springs outward will come Mar. This is the Melech Moshiach, B'Korov Mamash. So what's the point? What's the point the Rebbe wants to say over here? Moses worked hard. The Jewish people worked hard. 7 days they stood up the tabernacle and took it apart. But on the final day, when the tabernacle was stood up permanently, as that was done only by Moshe and only with Hashem. It was a big miracle. But the Jewish people had to do the work. And the Jewish people doing the work, that's what we're doing. And we have the Moses of our generation. We have the Rebbe. By unifying everything that we do in Torah and commandments and saying, I have to bring another Jew closer to Judaism. I have to wake up another Jew. I have to make another Jew realize the goodness of God, the closeness of God, the goodness of the Torah, the wonderfulness of doing a commandment just because it's the truth. As alone, it's not going to work. But when we do it with the Rebbe's help, it'll work, and how amazingly it'll work. You just go around to see a lot of the Chabad houses in the world. I mean, there's hundreds of them. A lot of the Chabad houses in the world, the one who runs the Chabad house, right? They're really not, how do you say, prepared or able to do it on their own. They don't really know how to deal with the mayor of the city and how to teach children and how to deal with women and how to deal with problems and how to deal with intermarriage. They don't know these things. They're just nice people and they have good intention. And it works. Suddenly it works. They have the right thing to say. They meet somebody who is an expert in this. They tell the people that suddenly it works. And of course, there's always problems. There's always difficulties. But to do it on your own, and you see there's other groups of Jews, not Chabad, and they have talented people and people that are really able and willing to do and to spread Judaism. And they have, they're geniuses in Torah, and they just don't do it. And if they do, they meet all sorts of opposition, monetary opposition, whatever it is, and difficulties, financial, that Chabad also meets with. And they have the ability to deal with them, and they don't. It just doesn't work. Others have tried. And the reason that Chabad does it is not because we're talented or we're special, or because we have the Rebbe. And the Rebbe is that special person of the generation, the Moses of the generation, that puts the whole thing together and finally stands up the temple. And that's what's going to be. The third temple is going to come in the merit of the Rebbe inspiring us to do our job. Have a good day with Moshiach. Now let's do the Yom Yom. 1 second. 1 minute. Wow, that came out okay. 1 second. No, I don't want to do that.